I'm pleased to have the President and CEO of Applied Materials, Gary Dickerson, here today. Gary, hello, how are you?
I'm doing great, Nitin. Thank you. Good to see you.
Well, good to see you too. And I think I just wanted to sort of have a little conversation about some of the things that are going on in the industry, and also elaborate a little bit on what you sort of talked about at your keynote at Semicon West. And then we'll talk a little bit about talent, innovation, and innovating the way we innovate. So let's start, first of all, a little bit about what are the key trends that you think and the challenges? Sorry, let's reframe it. What are the top three challenges in the industry, do you think, today in the semiconductor industry?
And one of the things we talked about is what we call 5 Cs. So first is complexity is increasing as customers are driving their roadmaps forward. Complexity, cost, and cadence. So it's really about driving all of those technology roadmaps across all aspects of the industry. Another aspect is carbon emissions. So the great thing for our industry is chips are becoming more pervasive. Everything around us is getting smarter from the edge to the cloud. But along with that comes challenges with carbon emissions. And so that's certainly a really great challenge for all of us, but also an opportunity for us to come together and collaborate and solve that challenge, just like we have many other challenges over time. And then the last one you talked about was college grads, or really the development of talent to scale our industry going forward. So it's really those challenges around the industry roadmap, carbon emissions, and talent.
Right. Okay. So we will go on to that a little bit, but let's talk a little bit about the emissions, which is the big feature of your keynote at Semicon West in San Francisco earlier this year. So just remind me, you identified some of the areas you're working in: Scope 1, Scope 2, Scope 3. Just remind us at a high level what you're doing and how you've achieved that, and where you're going with Scope 3.
So definitely we're focused on Scope 1, Scope 2, Scope 3. But I would start off by even going a little bit broader than that. And, Applied Materials is the largest supplier of equipment into the semiconductor and display industries. Virtually every chip and every display is made with our technology. And, if you look at a 3 nanometer chip, there's about 60 miles or 100 kilometers of wiring in that tiny little chip that's the size of your fingernail. And on a mobile processor and your smartphone, there's about 15 billion transistors. If you go up to a GPU, you're up to 100 billion transistors on a single chip. And a lot of that material, the material innovation, is enabled by Applied Materials. So, and then if you think about the pervasiveness of computing and chips, really, again, the industry will grow to $1 trillion by 2030. Chips are going to be, much more pervasive from the edge to the cloud. So energy consumption is a big challenge for the entire industry and for the world. I think people estimate today that data centers consume something like 10% of the world's power. In the future, it's going to be many times larger than that. So this focus on energy efficient computing is not part of our Scope 1, 2, or 3, but that drive for energy efficient computing is something that we all need to focus on. Actually, I'm very optimistic that that's one of those big challenges that we're going to be able to make tremendous progress with all of our partners in the semiconductor industry. But let's go back to the Scope 1, Scope 2, Scope 3. So Scope 1 and 2 is really Applied Materials, our operations. There, Nitin, I would say we're making tremendous progress. We're 100% renewable energy in the United States. We're 70% renewable energy globally for Applied Materials. And we've said we'll hit net zero for Scope 1 and 2 by 2030. And I would say on that, and this is really a theme, I think, all around carbon emissions, is there's not a trade-off between what's good for our business and what's good for the environment and for the future. So we made some investments for renewable energy that actually have positive returns for Applied that also have enabled us to go to 100% renewable energy. So again, scope 1 and 2, tremendous progress. Scope 3, if you really look at the weighting of the 1, 2, and 3, scope 3 is 99% of that total. And that involves our customers and our suppliers, more weighted towards our customers. So there, we have a number of initiatives that we're driving to support our customers. And then we have initiatives also with our suppliers. We have one initiative we call 3 by 30 that we announced a few years ago. It's really 30% more energy efficiency, 30% better materials consumption, 30% throughput density for our systems. You can output more wafers in a certain amount of area. So those 30% goals, the 3 by 30, we have that goal by 2030, making tremendous progress there. In our supply chain, we have something we call Success 2030. And so we're working across our entire supply chain on that Success 2030. We're engaged with all of our top 100 suppliers. And just like we're driving to really hit net zero with our scope 1 and 2 by 2030, we expect all of our suppliers to have good, solid programs in place and be driving towards net zero. And we're working with all of them. And what I outlined in our playbook for the scope 1, 2, and 3, on scope 3, we talked about grid decarbonization. One thing that is super, 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 super important is, just like with Applied on our scope 1 and 2, what is the source of power that you're using for your operations? So for us, we went to renewable energy. And we have a great investment in wind power. We have, I believe we'll soon have the largest private solar installation in the United States coming online. So for all of our customers, really looking at all of the wafer fabs, what is the source of power? And I would say that when you look at announcements for wafer fabs, you see a lot of discussion about incentives, financial incentives, labor availability.
Yeah.
I really hope that we start seeing the focus on clean energy sources in every one of those locations on the scorecard for all of our customers. So that's really, really important. And then supporting our customer net zero goals. We have many products and services that we've developed. I talked about this at Semicon. We have 24 today that we've developed for our systems and for our services. And I encouraged all of our customers to work with us on adoption of those products and services. And Nitin, there is a tremendous amount of savings on carbon emissions, material usage, that we could implement very quickly with many of our customers. Actually, I was in a meeting yesterday with our team, looking also at what we have today and what our pipeline is going forward for all of the net zero products and services that we have at Applied Materials. It's amazing, really. And so again, I would really encourage our customers to work with us there. And then other part of our scope 3 that I talked about was working with our suppliers in our Success 2030 initiative with all of our supply chain. And as I mentioned, we're making progress there also.
One of the things that surprised me when I was, I think, listening to you or reading afterwards was the number of fabs in the world and the number of customers. It's quite large, isn't it? I mean, most people wouldn't really think, they just think the big ones, TSMC, Intel, Samsung, but there's a large number that you're serving.
Oh, yes. There's hundreds of fabs around the world. And, one thing I would say for our customers, really, Nitin, for us to accomplish net zero on scope 3, that's 99% of the 1, 2, and 3, we can't do it by ourselves. Today, about 2/3 of our customers actually have net zero goals.
That's
So,
quite a lot.
I
Yeah.
would, again, really encourage those companies, all of the companies, to have real actionable plans in place. And as I said, within Applied, this is a really big focus. We have this in our corporate scorecard for all of our teams across all of Applied Materials. We have significant actions in place. And then just like on the scope 1 and 2, the scope 3 initiatives that we're driving are not only good for the environment, but they're also good for applied materials. All of the initiatives that we're driving, we have a new platform called Vistara, the most important platform that we've launched in a decade. And there are a lot of benefits for customers in using Vistara for their chip roadmaps, but there's also benefits in carbon emissions. That platform is 35% more energy efficient, and the throughput density, that wafers out per square foot, is 30% better than our existing platforms. So again, there are real benefits there for our customers and for Applied Materials in launching some of these net zero initiatives. We have another product that we talked about called EcoTwin. So EcoTwin, in Vistara also, Nitin, we've added many sensors. There's 1,000 different sensors inside Vistara. So we're
Yes.
collecting data, and we already have some of that on existing platforms, but Vistara takes that to another level. We're collecting a tremendous amount of real-time data. EcoTwin enables our customers to monitor energy usage, materials consumption, and even when they're setting up recipes for all of those processes, it enables them to compare recipe setups and show them the differences in energy consumption and in material usage. So again, those are some examples of
That's right.
areas that we're driving, especially with our customers.
Are there challenges with your customers in sort of trying to achieve them? Because one of the tensions are always going to be around getting something out the door quickly at low cost, and then you're trying to make sure that they try and meet some of these sustainability goals.
Well, again, I don't, there may be some of those types of trade offs, but if you can save energy, that's also a
Yeah,
financial return. If you're saving
true.
materials, there's a financial return. If I can get 30% more wafers out per square meter or square foot, there's a tremendous savings in your facility costs.
There's an ROI.
There's an ROI. So I think many of these areas that we're focused on, there's definitely a financial return. And what I'm hopeful is that we can align with all of our customers at the leadership level and accelerate adoption. One of the things Nit and I also track is what is the entitlement in all of these areas and what is the
Mm.
adoption rate? And then, what are those gaps? And then, so for me, those are conversations I have with our customers. And, again, adding in the net zero metrics in the scorecard for our customers is really important. Certainly, there are financial returns, but adding in the net zero benefits, I think will help us accelerate that adoption.
Okay. Um, let's move on a little bit. You've got quite a few initiatives around innovation and talent. Let's talk about talent first, and then innovation, because I want to sort of close on the innovation. But one of the initiatives is with Arizona State University, but then you've also got these um, other initiatives around the world, and I think you announced something in India. And
Yes.
I think you said earlier this year when you went to India that India's time is coming, and it's quite appropriate. We're talking about this after India landed on the south pole of the moon.
Yes.
So yeah, it's quite interesting, and there's a lot of electronics in that, a lot of chips in that. So yeah, it's
Yes.
quite appropriate. But tell us a little about the talent development in and sort of the whole sort of global perspective on that.
Well, if it's okay, let me talk a little bit about the innovation, and then I will include
Okay.
talent. So
Hmm.
we announced Epic here very recently, and you started off by talking about innovating the way we innovate. And
Yes.
that's exactly the message that we had when we launched Epic. And we really see, and this also, Nitin, gets back to what I talked about at the beginning on energy efficient computing. So it is chips, there is no question. We're going to have a very large number of connected devices from the edge to the cloud. That's going to continue to grow at a tremendous rate. So, driving that roadmap, I talked right at the beginning about the challenges we're facing on complexity, cost, and cadence. Epic is really a way for us to innovate the way we innovate. And many of these steps, from the concept of materials innovations to the validation from a unit process standpoint, the integration of all of these different processes together, to getting into a chip takes a very long time. So really what we're doing with Epic, and when we launched Epic, we had all of the top R&D leaders around the world in the semiconductor industry at Applied Materials. First time that's ever happened with all of the R&D leaders from all of our top customers across the ecosystem, EDA, fabless companies, system companies, many companies were at that event. But there is a real opportunity to innovate the way we innovate and to accelerate time to innovation, innovation success rate, and time to commercialization. And I really believe that people talk a lot about where chips are made in all of the incentives around the world, but it's
Yeah.
even more important for leadership to focus on how chips are made. That is really the only sustainable advantage over a longer period of time. And really, I deeply believe the companies that collaborate the best and the fastest, today they're the winners in our industry, and in the future it's going to be even more important. So again, bringing all of those companies together here in Santa Clara, in this new Epic Center, I think is going to be a game changer for the whole industry, for our customers, and for Applied Materials. And so that's really what we've been focused on with Epic. You talked about India. And we have about 7,500 people in India today. In India, we have many of the leaders at Applied Materials are also from India, a lot of our top
Hmm.
technology leaders. There, we're focused on innovation in our equipment and components. Epic is innovation in the chip.
Right.
India, what we've announced there is innovation in the equipment and in the components. And there we brought many of the top suppliers around the world into the event where we were announcing the India Collaboration Center. And again, that's also going to be a game changer for Applied and for our supply chain. So those are the two major initiatives that we announced in terms of innovation, high velocity innovation. On talent, another aspect of Epic is we have space in Epic for customers, partners, and universities. And we announced, as you mentioned, the collaboration with ASU. And that's really a great example where we're going to collaborate around specific innovation themes to accelerate time to innovation and innovation success rate. And a lot of the universities, they have an incomplete set of innovation tools and technologies. Old reactors, they're not well maintained, any of those kinds of things. So the combination of what we do at a university site, and especially at Epic, we're going to make available space for high velocity innovation. And we will be announcing, Nitin, many of those innovation partnerships with a number of different universities around specific innovation themes. So this is also another way of innovating in talent with those university partnerships that we're going to be building. And there's so much excitement. When we had the Epic event, We also had many of the top universities around the United States, the engineering leaders at this event. So this is another part of our strategy. We'll be talking more about this, and you'll see many more announcements going forward in the future. And the last thing I'd say on talent is that not only building those university relationships to accelerate talent development, but innovating how we work is really important. So as we scale our company going forward, again, we have tremendous opportunities to grow applied at a high compound annual growth rate, but I want to scale productively and effectively. So when we look at dollars per task for all of the different parts of applied materials, we have big initiatives to innovate how we work, where we work, and who does the work. So those are areas, Nitin, where we have the talent strategies that we put in place, but also innovating how we work, where we work, who does the work. These are big areas of focus, and there are tremendous opportunities for optimization.
And I think, to that point, the CHIPS Acts, I think you said earlier, it doesn't matter about where, but it's about the collaboration. One of the positives of the CHIPS Acts is stimulating this activity around stimulating local talent as well, which is actually quite interesting, don't you think?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, certainly when we also thought about EPIC here in Silicon Valley, we looked at, there's 30 companies in the semiconductor ecosystem, from equipment to EDA to fabless companies to system companies. Those 30 companies within 50 miles make up about 1/3 of the S&P 500, just within 50 miles here in Silicon Valley. We're also within driving distance of Stanford and Berkeley and many other universities here in Silicon Valley. So there, if you think about innovation density, there is no place like this on the planet. And I come back to my theme that the importance of collaborations and effective alliances. So being here where we can connect, and we will open up about 50% of the space in EPIC for universities, for our partners, for our customers, and then having that innovation happen in parallel versus a slower serial process will innovate the way we innovate.
Well, on that note, Gary, thank you very much.
Oh, thank you so much, Nitin.